Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of Teaching Tales, the podcast totally devoted to sharing stories from the world of education. I am your host, Brent Coley, an elementary principal in beautiful, but currently cold for Southern California standards, Southern California. And we're back. I was looking over 2 months since we've recorded an episode because there's this little thing called COVID. You may have heard of it. It's kind of doing a number on everybody, but we're back, and I am super excited to have Jessica Gomez join me today. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great, considering the new challenges that we've had to lead through.
Exactly. It's as we were talking before we started recording. It's a challenge, and we are recording this a week before we are set to go on winter break. So I think, as a lot of people listening right now, some of us are crawling toward winter break, and that's okay. That's okay. Breaks are needed, and doesn't mean we don't love what we do. I always say that to my staff. Hey, it's okay to want a break. It doesn't mean you don't love your students. Doesn't mean you don't love what you do. It means you're human and you need a break.
Absolutely.
So before we get into sharing some stories, tell anyone who's not familiar with you. Who is Jessica Gomez? What do you do? Where do you live? All that good stuff.
Okay, so I am an elementary school principal in Colton Joint Unified, which is Southern California, and I've been a principal for 11 years now and love every bit of it. And let's see, I have 2 teens, and a daughter and a son who's in high school, a daughter who's in middle school. And then I am married to an educator as well. So we definitely are a busy household, but you know what? I love what I do, and I think that's what fuels my passion. I make the job something that is meaningful to me and for others, and so I don't see it as I have to do this. I get to do this, right?
I love that. Yeah, it is great when you have a job that you want to go to in the morning. And I think you and I met in person almost a year ago at an affiliate for our California peeps, an affiliate Q event back in January before the world ended, back when we could have in-person events. And since then, I have been following your work on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And when I wanted to get back into recording for the podcast, I thought, gosh, Jessica's the perfect person to share some stories. And I wanted to talk about and pick your brain and have you share some of the great things that you're doing about classroom and campus culture and how we can build that. Because again, I have watched in the last year the great things that you have been doing and taken some tips from you and tried to do that with my own school. But let me just start
Brent.
Oh, thank you. And that's what's great about education is when we share, like you're so good at sharing on social media, and at the end of the episode, we'll have you share out your usernames and stuff so people can follow you as well. But why, let me just ask with a softball question. Why is it important? Why is campus culture? Why is that important? Like, why are you so passionate about this?
Well, you think about this, right? So we've probably all worked in environments where you didn't look forward to going to work, yet you spend so much time at work, right? You spend so much time there. And I thought to myself, if I'm in a position, and being a principal is a very unique position because you are in the position to make that school culture, make it or break it. And so, when I became a principal, I said, I chose to say, I'm going to make it. I want to make it what I've always wanted it to be. And it's important to me because our staff spends probably more time when we're in person, right? Even during COVID, even online, the amount of hours that they're putting into work, they spend more time working than they probably are at home, right? And with their own families. So I think to myself, what kind of environment, if I was a teacher, if I was a office support staff, if I was, custodian, what kind of environment would I want to work in that I can look forward to, that I know I'm going to walk down the hallway and someone's going to smile at me? And so I always lead from that perspective. What would I want for myself? And that's what I try to lead and model. But I also for me is very important because I lead in a way that I would want my own kids' school to be like. So I tell that to my staff too, right? What kind of teacher do you want for your own child? What kind of attendance clerk do you want your child to encounter when they walk into the office? What kind of custodian do you want your child to be able to have at their school? And when you lead and teach and serve and from that perspective, that's what matters, because you know that you're impacting so many little lives and so many adult lives as well. And for me, that's what guides and leads my passion.
I love that. And boy, you touched on something that, like, for most of us listening, I mean, if you're listening close to when we're recording, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. Most of us, I mean, you and I, we're in virtual instruction. Most of the country is right now. And I think you said it. Teachers, even though they're teaching virtually right now, I know my staff, they're probably as difficult it is to see them, because they were already putting in countless hours. They're working harder now than they were before. And you read these research studies and that people don't leave jobs, they leave people. They leave organizations when they don't feel valued, when they don't, like you said, they don't want to come to work. So I would love to have you share some of those ways. And again, you're a site leader, I'm a site leader. So any things that we share, if you're a teacher listening right now, I think so many of the things that Jessica is going to share and that you'll hear, they can be adapted to a classroom environment. So it's like, well, I'm not a principal, I should stop listening. No. Because culture transcends your position. I mean, it's something that can be, like you said, whether you're the custodian, whether you're in the front office, it doesn't matter. So what are some, especially now, now, because I'll be real transparent right off the bat. People are asking, I mean, I asked you when we got on this Zoom call here, how you doing? It's like, well, I'm good. I'm tired. It's like, I mean, like right now, sometimes I feel like my job is to make sure my teachers don't quit.
Right. Yes. That's exactly. Like, what can I keep doing so that they can just keep showing up every day?
Yes, because this is really, really hard. So give me an example of something that you have done that you have found to be really successful with your school in terms of building culture.
So, and this is, one of the things that I'll steal your quotes sometimes, but years ago, I started sending out daily quotes, right, from on Remind to my staff. So that's how I know you write your quotes on your whiteboard, and I love that you share those, because sometimes it's like the perfect quote, and so I'll just use word swag or something and take that quote and create it into a graphic. But I was doing that when we were in person. So every morning I just send out some quote that maybe resonated with me, and because there's so many that you can get from Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, that I have this arsenal of quotes. In fact, I have a Google folder that where I dump all those pictures in, and I've shared through my blog, like, hey, if you need, here's like 150 to get you started. And so I send those out every morning with a little message encouraging them. Sometimes sometimes I may speak to somebody and sometimes I may not, but I have heard back like, that's exactly what I needed today. So it's going to touch somebody. And so when we went to virtual instruction, I thought, what are some of those things that I did when I was in person that can easily transfer over? And that was one of those things. This is simple, because I get up early in the morning to work out before the day starts, before anybody gets up. And so I finish my workout, and then I just sit and I scroll and I wait for something to hit me, and then that's when I send it out in the mornings. The other nice thing about Remind, though, too, is you can schedule them ahead of time, right? So if you wanted to schedule 5 of them, because there have been times, very few times, I was like, oh my God, it's 7:45, because I always send it at 7:30, schedule it for 7:30. And but that's one easy thing that you can do. One easy thing. The quote. I can't even remember. I think I saw a teacher on Twitter or something do it, and we had an old whiteboard in our lounge, and it wasn't being used. And one day I found a quote, I put it there, and it just kind of stuck. And I've been doing that when I was walking this morning, I was asking myself, how long have I been doing that? It's been like 2.5 years. And like you said,
Does everybody read it? Nope, not everybody. But like you said, some people they'll walk by and they'll say, "Hey, I loved your quote." And I saw on Instagram the other day, I had posted one of those, and a few people said, that was exactly what I needed to hear today. And yeah, I did the same thing back when we pivoted to virtual instruction in March. I did the same thing. I started putting the quotes in just PowerPoint slides, just with a nice graphic, and just saving them as images and sending those out. It's small, and I love the fact that you're sharing those. I need to jump on your blog because I haven't seen your pictures, but
I will definitely share it with you.
There we go. That's fantastic. So, and again, that's something that Monty Siri, I believe his name is, on Twitter. I mean, he's a teacher who does a daily quote in his classroom. So this is for teachers. This doesn't have to be a principal thing. You could do this in your classroom as well.
And
so what else?
Actually, Brent, I wanted to piggyback on something that you just said and that you had said earlier about if you're a teacher and you're thinking, oh, but they're principals, I can't do what they're doing. Actually, I learned so much from teachers because it's exactly it. Like I'll see teachers do, oh, they do that for their class. I'll just take that idea and just make it for the school, right? And so teachers keep sharing because as principals, that idea is all we need to spark our creativity and say, I can do that my staff can enjoy that just because they're doing it for their kids, right? For their students. I can do that for my staff, and I know my staff would enjoy that as well. So I follow a lot of teachers because I get inspired by their ideas.
Oh, teachers are the are the best for. I mean, that's what teachers do, is they create amazing things, and when we share them with each other, we make each other better. So I love it.
Absolutely.
What else? Give me something else, because I'm loving the quote one.
So I'll talk a little bit about, like, for the kids, so birthday books. Birthday books is a huge thing for that was something we did. I don't even know when I started it. And again, I got it. I was probably inspired by a teacher who was giving them out. And I don't know, some of my principal friends from across the country who started that. So when we were in person, I would, every Wednesday, my secretary would pull up all the birthdays for the week, and I'd call those kids up, and they just knew, like, it's this week and it's my week, so I know Mrs. Gomez is going to call me up. They would come to my office. I have like a big rolling cart of books, and they would pick them out, and then we'd take a selfie with the principal, and they'd get a bookmark. I mean, it was just this big thing.
Love it.
And so they'd been telling me, like, months ahead, my birthday's almost coming. I'm like, when is it? Oh, it was like 2 or 3 months out. I'm like, okay, well, I'll call you when it's your turn. So I thought to myself, how am I going to do that now with COVID? Because I know that that's something that they still want to do. And so when we first went back in March, when we went virtual, that was mailing them. And I was like, okay, it's going to take me a long time, but it's worth it. So I did it, and the kids were loving it. And then when we came back, another principal actually in Whittier, she had posted and that they were doing like a drive-through pickup. And I was like, that's amazing. I can set up a table, put balloons once a month, and the parents can come by, drive, and they can still pick the book out, right? Social distancing, mask, all of that.
Yeah.
But then as the cases, so they loved that. I was able to do that for a couple of months. But then as the cases started to rise, our district really wanted us to hold back from any of those in person, so unless it was absolutely essential. So I've had some of my staff help me. Then we're back to mailing, so we just pick out a book for the kids, and they still love it because I mail the actual envelope to them, and
they're getting mail.
There.
They're getting mail.
And I've had kids tell me, I love the book you chose for me, Mrs. Gomez, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad. And so that's one of those things that, again, we have to get creative on those things that were a true. They truly made an impact on your school campus. I needed to find ways to still continue that.
I love that, and I'm thinking from if anyone, like, and it doesn't have to be a book. I mean, it could be a book, but it could be a birthday pencil. It could be a birthday bookmark. So for anyone thinking like, oh, I love the book idea, but I'm a teacher and I'm on a teacher's budget, and I couldn't do that. Or I'm a middle school teacher or a high school teacher with 180 kids, which leads me down a little thought there too, that if you're thinking from the upper grades, that matters to them too.
Absolutely. Then I would do it for teachers too. So then the following year, I said, I'm going to do it for teachers. And so I haven't been so good about that, but But when we were in person, teachers would get their certificate. I'd have like professional development books, but they also had picture books that they can, or chapter books that they wanted for their class. They would come in, the same process. They would come in, choose their book, get a selfie with the principal. I would print out the other piece. I would print out a little picture with a little sprocket printer.
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah. And so right there and then the kids would leave with their picture, and so would the teacher. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And that, I'm going to segue. Gosh, I have not, we've celebrated kids' birthdays, but not something like that. I love that idea. And then that, when you said coming in and taking the selfie with the principal, good news calls of the day is another thing that I found the idea, shared on Twitter. Principal French, I think it was Mark French.
Mark French. Mark French.
Who and I've been doing that. Again, it's been harder because you can't take the selfies and stuff right now with COVID, but how many, I mean, unfortunately, you and me in our position, sometimes we have to make not so positive phone calls when kids make less than great behavioral choices. So that seeking out kids who are showing great character, who are putting great effort, who are holding the door open, who are just rocking what they're supposed to be doing, calling their parents. And it is so, I can't tell you, and I'll bet you would agree with me, the number of times that I call and say, hey, so Mrs. So-and-so, this is Mr. Coley calling from Alta, and you're getting my good news call of the day.
Yes, you have to tell them that first.
Right off the, and I used to, it's like, because they're like, and I said, how are you? They're like, I was okay till Mr. Coley called, like, because the stigma of the principal calling. Right. And then you go in and you just say, Mrs. Kelly told me how great Sophia is doing. And the number of times that I have heard tears.
I was about to say that. On the
other end of the phone, because you've just made their day, and you can do that. So again, teachers, you can do this too. We make those positive phone calls too. And admin, if you're listening, staff, I did this to one of our teachers once, where I called her husband. I called her husband's cell phone. He didn't answer because he's a firefighter, but I left a message. And the next day, the teacher told me that they were out to dinner as a family. This was obviously before COVID, when you could go into a restaurant, but that's a different story. And her husband pulled out her cell phone, played the voicemail message where I had just said, like, your wife is amazing. And he just put it on speaker and played it for the whole family. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine. And just how something like that is going to make that teacher want to come back to work. Absolutely. And if you're doing that for students, that's going to make students want to come back to class the next day. So before you move on, Brent, I just want to, so I piggyback on that and how we can modify it. So, so I have done some of the good news calls. I wasn't so good about every day, but I didn't exactly right, the tears and all of that. And I think it has a bigger impact on us than them maybe. Oh yeah. It fills our buckets. Yeah. So one of the things that I'm doing now, and I just started maybe a month ago or so. So I asked the teachers in our bulletin, so I use SMORE for our weekly bulletin. I just put a Google form in there that if you have any outstanding students that you want myself and my AP to recognize, I'm going to be mailing home outstanding student postcards. Right? How easy is that? So what happens, I said, but you gotta, like, not too many, because then I can't keep up. But just, they have to really earn it. So every week I'll go through that Google form, and there's always kids on there. And what's great is they're very specific as to why they're recognizing them. And I'll write them. We have these postcards that are print shop made. Says you're amazing on there. I'll write them a letter. I'm so proud of you. Mr. Coley told me that you are working so hard in distance learning, and you're turning in your assignments, et cetera, et cetera. And that's another way. And I just stick them in the mail. They get them. They're so excited. A parent shared a picture of one of her little girls on Instagram with me. And she's like, look, she made it. She made it. The principal got her a card. And
again, right, this is just another way for us to be able to, how long does it take us to write 3 postcards to our kids? It's not going to take that long.
Yeah.
And again, teachers, you can do the same with your kids. It means a lot. And the other thing you had mentioned about the phone call for the family, for the teachers' families. One Christmas, I wrote note cards to each of my staff's family, thanking them for sharing them with us at school, and that was huge. So there's how you can take that and modify that and expand on it, or make it your own.
I love the postcard idea, and we've got a print shop that could do something like that too. Doesn't take that long, like you said, to write it out. We've done something similar. We call it we have Magic Mustangs. Our Mustang is our mascot. There we go. Thinking it's an M word. Mascot. And normally in person, we have little Magic Mustang coupons that when kiddos are doing great for a variety of reasons, they get a little certificate. They put it in a box, and we pull them randomly, and we celebrate those kids. We've gone virtual with that. Like you said, now we have a Google form. So if a student is doing an amazing job, this teacher can put in a Google form, and then through the magic of Autocrat, which you and I had talked about.
I know, and I still haven't got it.
And for anybody, Autocrat is an add-on for Google Sheets. So you know that you do a Google form, the data is populated into a Google Sheet. So it's a simple form that says student's name, teacher name, why is this student why is this student awesome? What are they doing that we want to recognize? And when you do the form, Autocrat takes the information from the form and mail merges it into a certificate automatically and emails it to the teacher, who right now can then forward it on to the student. They can either print it out if we're doing a pickup day, or they can just forward it right through the email to mom or dad. And those types of things, it takes 60 seconds to fill out that Google form. And through the magic of Autocrat, all magic is done behind the scenes. The certificate is automatically, it's generated, it's automatically emailed. And imagine that the mom getting that, dad getting that, and then coming in. And we've done the same type of thing for staff. We call it a You Rock Award. And there's so many kids teachers that, and not just teachers, staff, custodians, front office, counselors, school psychologists.
Everybody and anybody.
Yeah, and teachers recognizing teachers, staff members recognizing staff members. They fill this form out. A You Rock Award certificate is generated and automatically emailed. And as I have walked through classrooms, I'm seeing them printed out. I'm seeing them stapled on their bulletin board by their computer. It's not just something that gets filed away.
No.
It matters. It
does matter. It does matter. Absolutely. We call that our shout outs in our bulletin as well. Same thing, except I still haven't gotten the Autocrat set up. But maybe that's a project for the winter break.
There we go. Well, don't work too hard. And for anyone who's listening, I do have a tutorial on my YouTube channel. So if you want to search that, it'll walk you through. It takes you about 10 minutes to set it up, but once you're done, it's done, and you never have to do it again. And you can use this for award certificates. You can use it I use it for classroom walkthroughs, informal classroom walkthroughs to provide positive feedback. So when I'm done, there's so many different things that it could be used for. So anything else that you're doing?
A whole list.
I know we could go for hours and hours. We won't do that. People are going, oh my gosh. But give me some more.
So one of the things I was thinking about as we're talking about, celebrating kids, celebrating staff, sending postcards. So when we talk about postcards, right? I'm sure that you've done this, right? And leaving handwritten notes to staff, just a little thank you, whatever it is, right? Acknowledging something that they did. Well, yes, we could still do that and mail that. So that's one option, right? We could still do that and mail that. But even faster, right? It's a little bit more immediate, is a virtual postcard. So I just took the Google Slides And I done it a couple of ways. So the front, like the first one would be, it's just some kind of a template. I think it's on my blog. I think I wrote a blog post about that too.
Ooh.
So you can go on my blog post about that on there. I believe so. And then the second slide, I created it like looking like the back of a postcard, right? With a line and then a fake little stamp and then our school address and who it was addressed to. And then I would just type in. The other thing there have been times when I've added actually my voice. So I'll record my voice and then insert the little audio. And so I'll send it to them in present mode so that they can actually click on it and it'll speak to them. So they hear the intonation of your voice. They hear the passion in your voice. They hear the excitement in your voice. So that's something else that I've done for them. And guess what? They've done it. So then some teachers turn around and go do it for their kids. Oh, because they have the template. It's ready. I
always say this. It's like, it doesn't matter if anybody's listening to this episode because I'm getting something out of this. I mean, my RAP, Cassie Caldwell, shout out to Cassie. She created, as you were talking, it was like, oh, that's kind of like what Cassie did. She took a Bitmoji and made a PowerPoint slide that now if I'm popping into a Zoom meeting and seeing stuff, I can just go into the slide and type. It's like basically, like you said, a virtual digital postcard and save it as an image, embed that into an email, and then shoot it. And then just, so that's the whole email is just this little Bitmoji postcard. But I love the idea of audio, of adding your voice, because that's, like you said,
it takes it to the next level. Mm-hmm.
You can italicize a word, or you can say the word. And sometimes saying the word is just, oof, and they can listen to it over and over and over. That's, oh man.
Over and over. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Hey, what about your story times?
Oh yeah. So, okay. So I used to do, every month I would pick a different book, and I did this on my blog post, on my blog page also,
nice.
Tons of books. So, every month I do my monthly principals read it out. So I would actually go into the classrooms and read. Teachers would sign up on a Google Calendar. I'd have some appointment slots and then sign up, et cetera, et cetera. So that was something that I've done for years. So I thought, how am I going to do that? Because we're limited in terms of the amount of instructional time we have online, based on the MOUs and that kind of thing. I don't want to take from the small amount of time they have and to go and take in 20 minutes of that time. So I said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do video, and I'm going to learn how to, so I went in, because we have a school, a district subscription. So I went in, figured it out, learned it, and I record every Monday story time with Mrs. Gomez. I record it, I share it out on our Monday must-knows. I share it out with our staff, our students, our families, and they're on our YouTube channel. And so the kids can always go back and find a book. And this year I've been able to really, like, if it's, let's just say it's, Native American Heritage Month. So that whole month I'll focus on that, or Filipino American Month, Heritage Month. I'll focus on those. So really exposing the kids, Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'll try to bring in lots of diverse authors in books. And this month, I'm doing holiday books. So we're doing one, Noche Buena, that how traditionally Latin American countries celebrate the night before for Christmas. Mm-hmm. This week I'm going to be recording a Hanukkah book. So I really just want to expose our students to all kinds of different things. So what I do is I actually take, screenshots of the pages. I upload them as pictures. I read it, and so I have the whole page turn on the video, and the kids. I put music to it. Once I set up my template, I just replaced it with that week. So initially it took a little time. Now I can finish them a lot faster. And I know, Brent, that yesterday, one of our parents, who happens to be my attendance technician, but she's a parent, and she's like, you need to see this. And she shared, and I was like, that's what fuels us, right? Mm-hmm. We think, I don't even know if anybody's listening to these read alouds or not, but when you see that, and it's just like, okay, even if it's just one student, and they're enjoying it, then I'm going to continue to do it. And so that's how I've been able to continue my read alouds. And then I send it out to the staff, and the staff puts on their Google Classrooms and their Seesaw. So they're watching.
Yeah. And you're referring to, you had posted a picture of one of your students eating lunch watching you read the story. And what I love about that is it's outside of the school day. It can be. It's another asynchronous activity that builds. It just builds that culture, that family environment. I mean, I just did this past Thursday. I do periodically a Facebook Live bedtime story time where it's live, and that's hard. I don't do that as frequently because it's live, and there's meetings and family and stuff like that. But I did it on Thursday night, and unfortunately I tried it on my new phone with my ring light, and I was sideways the whole time. I forgot I hit a wrong. No. So people could turn their phone and they could see it, but it's like. But the nice thing about that is they're dropping comments, and I say, "Hey, welcome to Facebook Live," and I can hang there for a little bit and say, "If you're here, drop your name in the comments," and then you get to say, "Hey, Sophia's here, Alan's here," and parents have told me, "Oh, they love when you said their name out loud. That's a big deal." I talked with a parent just yesterday, and she said, "Oh, we watched your Facebook Live. It's the first time we've done it, but my first grader, she loved it." And I mean, for anyone who's thinking, well, but not everyone's listening. You're right. Not everyone is listening. No. I think I had 25 viewers live. There were 25, but hey, that was 25.
That's 25.
That's 25 people. And even if it was one, and that one kiddo had a smile on his or her face and went to bed thinking, I love Alta Murrieta. I love our school. Yes. I can't wait to do. Then it's worth it. And I love your virtual. I'm going to do that next week too, where I'm going to record a different holiday story. And I've got a Hanukkah story. I've got a Kwanzaa story. we're going to do how the Grinch Stole Christmas. And that'll be more asynchronous. And whether you do it live, teachers, you can do this too. Put it on your Google Classroom page. Put it on your website. Send out the link to YouTube. There's so many different things that you can do. And I think 25 watched it live, but there were 250 by last night. So, so they can ace it, and they can watch it over and over and over. And it's easy. You don't need, I wish I had the Wii Video that you've talked about, because we don't have the subscription to that. So, so I either set up on my laptop, and I just record with the camera, right?
Yeah, you know what you could do? Do you have Screencastify?
Yes.
Okay, so you could do the same thing. Put it on a Google slide, and then as you are scrolling through the slideshow, and you can do, I think you could do the pages. I don't know, even if you can't, but you can put a transition in there and just read it that way. So they have a good view of the page, and that's even easier than Wii Video, because that's how I do my Monday announcement.
Ooh, okay. See, I got stuff to work on. If not for this time, for next time. But,
absolutely.
Well, my gosh, I may have to bring you back for a second episode, Jessica.
I think so, Brent. I think this is going to be a series, because I know that you have a lot to share, and I know that I have a whole lot more I can share, and we should probably make this a series.
Honestly, if you're up for it, we will set up a time, and we'll do part 2. I've done that a couple of times with John Ike. We had part 1, we did part 2. So we'll have Jessica part 1 and part 2. This is, again, I hope people are listening, but if they're not,
okay.
We'll do part 2, because I'm going to get something out of it. So for anyone who has not already connected with you, following you, you've mentioned your blog, you've mentioned your social media channels. Put those out there so people will know where to follow you.
Okay, so Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Mrs. Jess Gomez. And then my blog post is mrsjessicagomez.com. And a lot of the things that I talked about here are on there. And so I break it down for you, and I'll give you examples. And when I talked about the quotes, the Google folder is there for you to click on. And I'm constantly just uploading. So I'm constantly adding to it. So you'll always get the most recent quotes I have on there, and about the postcards. I think I even did the virtual postcard as a blog post as well. So, so there's that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much. I know that people listening are going to get a ton out of this. I appreciate I appreciate you sharing, because, like I said, it's just, we learn from each other, and I always say that somebody is out there right now on their computer searching for what we have. And it may only be one person, but that could be the one lesson, the quote, the video that turns a student's life around, that turns a teacher's life around, that I don't think it's over dramatic to say that stops a teacher from quitting. I mean,
I've had a teacher tell me that. I have had actually tell me that.
There we go. There we go.
Yes, it matters. It matters.
It matters. It matters big time. So teachers, administrators, anyone listening right now, thank you for what you're doing, because you are doing it in the most, this is year 25 for me in education, and it is by far the most challenging. We're doing stuff that we've never been asked to do before, but I know, Jessica, your teachers are crushing it. My teachers are crushing it.
Yes, they are.
And thank you to the parents out there, because the grace and the flexibility and the support that they've shown has just been out of this world. So
it has. It's unbelievable.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe. You can find it anywhere you like to get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Or you can go to my website, the podcast page at brentcoley.com. You can also listen on Anchor. And thank you so much, Jessica. We will talk to you again.
Yes, we're going to do this again.
We'll definitely do it again. And for everyone listening, thank you so much. And until next time, have a good one.